Under common law, under the Constitution, they're just like everybody else. The law applies to them. They're not above the law, but they said it didn't apply because they gave themselves waivers. So in 15 months and 3 weeks, they have stolen over $28 trillion that we know of. And what? 20 billion or so were bonuses to the little bag men, the technicians, the figureheads, the front men, the big 5 bank heads and all their vice presidents and minions, the big 4 brokerage firms and all their minions, their secretaries. I saw reports where secretaries at Goldman Sachs were getting $1 million, $2 million, $3 million bonuses. Everybody gets a bonus. Of your money. Of your tax money. So let's stop talking about the secretary that got $1,400,000. You know, the lowest bonuses I saw were over $1 million. Let's stop talking about the people that gave themselves $200 million, like Paulson. Why aren't we talking about the actual shareholders? Why aren't we talking about the trillions that they won't even say where it went? Most of it to offshore banks. That's the big issue here, ladies and gentlemen. Continuing. Email to former New York Fed President Timothy Geithner reveals discussion of AIG bailout. Something Geithner said he had nothing to do with. And this is only the tip of the iceberg with these emails that Congress is trying to get. They've declared national security in 2008. They engaged in financial terrorism. To me, that's the biggest crime here. To come out and tell Congress, Henry Paulson, the man on television right now, live, we got Senator Inhofe, we got multiple congressmen here on air to tell you that they were threatened with total martial law if they didn't give the banks this power. And then the banks went out on television. Congress still said no in late September. And so in the final days of September, the first 2 days of October, Paulson and Geithner and Bernanke and Summers and Rubin and Obama and McCain, the whole crew pulled together, Team Tyrant, against the American people, the people of the world. They all pulled together and came out all over television in a unified 5-day blitz and said they didn't vote for the bailout. And if you don't bail us out, there's going to be a depression. And the stock market fell by several thousand points. And I took my kids out to soccer practice that weekend leading into October 3rd, later in the week. And I watched every one of those yuppies with newspapers and their BlackBerries and their iPhones looking down at them and almost crying watching their 401ks go down on average by over 40%. That was financial terrorism. I didn't have a BlackBerry out looking at stocks because I don't own any stocks. I don't have a 401k. I don't involve myself in all of that gambling, swindling system. Yeah, it made a lot of you out there a lot of money, but at the expense of our country's future and your children's future. It was a casino. And like a rigged casino, they know you were a high-rolling yuppie. You thought you were making $400,000 a year in the last decade. And when you came in, they let you win the first few times at that rigged roulette table with magnets in it and steel in the middle of that little white ball. And they could just hit a button and let you win, setting you up. Cutting the profits off the top for themselves, buying up the media, buying up the defense industries, buying up, getting all our states in debt, jacking up the taxes and regulations, knowing they were going to shut it all off. And I'm going to tell the yuppies something else. Things aren't going to get better. It's going to get worse and worse and worse and worse. But slowly, slow, coordinated destruction of the economy so they can consolidate it. You are going to be ruined by this. We are going to be ruined by this. Crime is already exploding. Homelessness is exploding. Joblessness is exploding. Society is falling apart by design. Geithner takes the hot seat at AIG hearing, defends himself, says he knew nothing about money going to Goldman Sachs. Says he didn't know that his underlings told them to make it secret when he's all over television previously saying, it's a secret, I won't tell you. They're caught red-handed, and now we have the emails that he was calling the shots. Of course he was calling the shots. He was the head of the New York Fed that gave the order. New emails show AIG mulled bank payment disclosures with Geithner. He lied to Congress. He's a crook. Wall Street Journal, New York Fed told AIG to shield payouts. Geithner emailed to AIG, withhold details about swap deals with Goldman Sachs and subprime loans. Emails obtained by the ranking member of the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee, Representative Darrell Issa, support claims that Treasury Secretary Tim Geithner's actions in handling the financial crisis and the bankers on Wall Street warrants deeper investigation. Yeah, that's the mainstream media hiding it in plain view. This should be a bigger issue. I mean, they're in trouble, but really, Bloomberg's got a blurb, a few others do. This has been out for 2 days. Took me 2 days to find out about this. And we're news hounding. We've got our snout in the news trough looking, rooting. Here's the Wall Street Journal headline today. AIG hearings, Geithner's last stand. That's right. Here's the Nation magazine, the big liberal intelligentsia. What do they have to say? They're jumping ship. The Nation, Geithner must go, their editorial board. The first casualty, the presidential debacle, wasn't a debacle, Nation, it was all designed, a coordinated swindle, coordinated with Clinton, Bush, and then Obama. They started this operation in the late 90s, on record. The first casualty, the president's political debacle, will likely be Tim Geithner, the severely overconfident, arrogant, hubris-filled Treasury Secretary, well known as a lapdog of Wall Street. Geithner was effectively repudiated by the president last week when Barack Obama abruptly announced a new, more aggressive approach to financial reform. But the immediate threat to Geithner is the scandal of collusion and possible illegal behavior gathering around the Federal Reserve Bank of New York for its mega-billion-dollar takeover of insurance giant AIG. Yeah, they took it over and used it as a conduit to give themselves the bailout money because they didn't want to give it directly to Goldman Sachs and J.P. Morgan Chase and a bunch of other big banks. Now, Obama has done this before. In February, and we covered it in Obama Deception that came out a month later in March, we show the scam. Obama comes out and says, don't worry, I'm really mad at Wall Street and the bankers getting rich, and I'm fighting them. Meanwhile, he was completely financed by him, 4 times the money McCain got from him, completely run by him, the most Wall Street-run presidency ever. And that's saying something. And he said, I'm going to cap CEOs, and I'm going to go after bad banks, and I'm going to cap their bonuses. And then he signed an executive order that the media literally didn't report on, but we cover it. At first, they didn't report on it, saying retroactively and into the future on the bailout deal, which goes into perpetuity in the future until we go and stop it in Congress, that all the big banks were exempt. Now, then it started coming out in the media when myself and many others exposed it. Lou Rockwell, countless others exposed it. Ron Paul exposed it. So then they threw Senator Dodd under the bus and said, Dodd did this, because they got a law passed separately. They said in that supposed stimulus package, the auto bailout, it had nothing to do with the auto bailout.